When your clock says it's 11:30 p.m., you know what that means. It's time to talk all things people, power, and politics. Welcome to The Pulse. I'm Root Barrage. We're glad you're making us your home for unbiased political news. Now, with the new Trump presidency coming into shape, we are here every step of the way covering how all of it impacts us all here in Metro Detroit. We have a lot to get to tonight, so let's go. After Republicans flipped Michigan red again, some major changes are coming to the state Democratic Party. The chairwoman is out. Our parting words to fellow Democrats coming up in a moment here. And we are continuing our postmortem of election 2024. As expected, the Hispanic vote played a key role in the race, just probably not in the way Democrats had once hoped. We're sitting down with two voters about what went right for Republicans and wrong for Democrats from a Latino perspective. But we begin in the capital of Lansing, where a man testifying about gun control issues used a racial slur during a Senate committee hearing. They were talking about two Senate bills regulating firearms around the Capitol. The man who said he was Avi Rockland spoke against that ban in certain buildings when he said this. Take a listen.
This is legislation that targets white people. It is rightful because the people who carry in the Capitol are primarily white. People who have CPOs are primarily white. And this is retaliation for the only demographic that overwhelmingly voted to support Donald Trump. If we want to address gun violence, we would be focusing on the people who bring guns into communities and shoot people like I live in Detroit where you represent, Stephanie Shine, which are overwhelmingly 13 to 35 sub-Saharan African. Those are the people who
move on. And thank you for your help. I'm out. Yep, and I am the chair, and I have Gail do down. So
that was awful. The man doubled down on his use of that slur when asked about it by a member of the committee. The committee voted to send the bills, by the way, to the full Senate. Now to the national level, where President-elect Donald Trump has named another one of his cabinet choices, and this is another name that could raise some eyebrows. Former presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The president-elect nominated him for Health and Human Services Secretary. Kennedy has expressed doubts about vaccines. He'll be tasked with running the agency that oversees those vaccines, drug and food safety, as well as medical research and Medicare and Medicaid. Despite massive pushback from the scientific community, he has pushed the theory that childhood vaccines cause autism. It remains to be seen how those views will impact his confirmation. And this is the other nomination that has a lot of people talking right now. Former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, nominated by the president-elect for Attorney General. Now, he's unpopular with many House Republicans because he led the charge to oust ex-House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Gaetz also is under a House ethics probe right now, looking into allegations of sexual misconduct, drug use, and whether he accepted improper gifts. That investigation basically ended when he resigned yesterday, but it's a nomination that has several Republicans on Capitol Hill talking, some good, others not so much.
I think that we're in pretty good shape. Matt, I've seen prepare with Representative Jordan on many of the judiciary hearings. He's pretty much one of the best strategists I've ever met.
As I've mentioned earlier, I don't really have a good comment on that one. I was going to let it go. The Senate has to confirm, and it's their job.
I think if you wanted to pick an agent of change, you really couldn't pick anybody that's a bigger agent of change, especially when it comes to DOJ and the FBI, than Matt Gaetz. And I think President, ran on the fact that he said this is not going to be business as usual, that he's going to turn this town upside down.
When it comes to the selection of Representative Gaetz, I just think it's silly. I believe that the president is probably rewarding him for being such a loyal soldier to the president. But the president is smart enough and his team is smart enough to know that Mr. Gaetz will never get confirmed by the Senate.
This does bring us to our first pulse check of the night. How closely are you paying attention to Trump's cabinet appointments? If you want to weigh in, just scan that QR code right there at the bottom right of your screen. So far, most of you that talk to us say very closely. After President-elect Trump flipped Michigan back to red, some major changes are coming to the state Democratic Party. The chairperson won't run for re-election. Lavora Barnes has held the top job since 2019. She's the first black chairperson in the party's history. Now, she joined the party as a chief operating officer back in 2016. and a letter to the party announcing her decision not to run for re-election. She basically said while the losses were painful, she pointed to the wins in the Senate, state, and local levels, saying the party is in good position moving forward. That letter went on to say this was a difficult year, but I know that while this party may bend under the weight of the pain of loss, it will never break. At the end of the day, this country and this state were built to move forward. There is much more work to be done, and the Michigan Democratic Party stands ready to do it. Lavora Barnes saying that. She didn't say what's next, though, only saying she looks forward to what she calls new challenges. But the change at the state party comes as some prominent Democrats are calling for changes from the top down, following massive losses in the 2024 election. One of them was on this show, Democratic Detroit City Council member Mary Waters, who had this to say.
I am calling for the Democratic leadership to step down. We want everybody fired.
Everybody.
Starting at the national level, first and foremost, state level, and then the local level. They all let down the people along with Kamala Harris, and she certainly deserves better than that. You cannot run an elitist campaign excluding other people, only including your buddies. You can't be effective like that. They hurt her. I'm calling for each of them to be fired as of today. They need to step down.
Now, she's far from the only one saying that. Former state representative and prominent Democrat Sherry Gay Degnago was critical of the way Democrats campaigned throughout this cycle. She, as well as former Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, who spent a lot of time in Washington, will be in the hot seat right here on The Pulse on Friday night, talking about what needs to change for the left to get things right for them moving forward. Well, a story still dominating the headlines here in Metro Detroit. The Motor City's mayor, Mike Duggan, announcing he won't run for re-election in 2026. We'll get to that speculation in just a second, but his announcement got us curious. What do you think Duggan's legacy is? We hit the streets to get a pulse check. Here's what some of you told us.
I think Mike Duggan's legacy was definitely him being a trailblazer for the city, and he definitely had a great impact on us.
Well, he turned this city from bankruptcy to prosperity. Love you, Mayor.
I think the mayor's legacy is just a city of strength and resilience. He's been able to support the community and being able to bring more businesses into the city, and all the programs that he's done in his administration has been extremely influential to young people, having more opportunities like Detroit Promise, and being able to go to school just because I live in Detroit for free. So these are all opportunities that stem from Mayor's vision for the city.
Back now to the speculation. There have been rumors for a while that Duggan wants to run for higher office like governor. We know Governor Whitmer is term limited, so there will be a new face for the Dems in 2026. I asked Duggan about those rumors when he went one-on-one with me right here on The Pulse.
I'm going to discuss my plans sometime in the next month or so, but today was a day to thank all the city employees and the community groups that have brought this city back, and I want to celebrate their accomplishment. And you saw today it was a day of celebration of accomplishment.
You're good. We got through that question, and we know that, of course, there's so much speculation. You know that, and we'll be listening very closely. And I hope you'll come back on this show in a month's time and talk to us about whatever it is that you have planned.
Whenever you run out of other guests, I'll come back.
We're not running out of guests. We're asking you to come first. Mayor Mike Duggan. Mr. Mayor, we got that on tape. We're asking you to come back in a month when you decide on that big decision. Are you running for governor? If you want to watch our full conversation with Mayor Duggan, as well as our talk about the future of legal cases against President-elect Trump in our second segment, all you have to do is scan that QR code at the bottom right of your screen. You can launch every episode of The Pulse right there on your phone. A lot's happened since we launched in July, and we're glad you've been here every step of the way. Well, the election didn't go the way Democrats hoped in many ways, and one key group that impacted that, the Hispanic vote. We're sitting down with two people who both voted for President-elect Trump, and they're both Latino. You're watching The Pulse on Fox 2. Back now on The Pulse, looking at all things people, power, and politics. Tonight, we're looking at another key demographic in this election, the Hispanic vote. Joining us tonight, Corinne Martinez and Jose Aliaga. Both of them voted for President-elect Trump, and we thank you both for joining us here today.
Thank you for having us.
It's good to see you both. So here we go. You kind of take a look at what happened if you audit the votes and you say, hey, how did Hispanic Americans, Latino Americans, how did they end up voting? And we found that more than 40%, it seemed, voted for Donald Trump. As a woman and a Hispanic woman, Corinne, why did you decide to vote for President-elect Trump?
I decided to vote for President-elect Donald Trump because I think he offered a lot of common sense solutions to problems that were concerning to me. And I felt that his opponent didn't necessarily campaign on those issues. I think she focused more on having a good time or, falsely saying that I should be afraid of Trump because my reproductive rights are at risk. And I just don't think those are issues that are concerning to me at this moment. I think immigration is a big thing, and being a second-generation immigrant, America was built on immigration, but we need to do it the right way. There's a checks and balance, and there's an order, and there's a process for coming into our country.
When Kamala Harris first came in after Joe Biden dropped out, were you considering her at all, or were you automatically going towards Trump?
I was automatically going towards Trump. Being female, I would love to see a female president one day. I think that would be great for our country, but it needs to be the right candidate. And I don't think Kamala was the right candidate for this election.
Jose, talk to us a little bit about how you made this decision to vote for President-elect Donald Trump. And by the way, thank you for coming on the show, because to talk about this topic, a lot of people say, hey, my politics are private. We don't ask people the question. But for you to come out and kind of help us uncover some of the reasons. And by the way, Hispanic people, Latino people are not a monolith. You don't speak for everybody. But it is interesting to hear your perspective. So why did you vote for Trump?
Sure. Well, first of all, for me, I can see two sides of the administration. It was easy to compare. You see what Trump did from 2016 to 2020 and what happened in 2020 to 24. And Trump nailed it when he says, are you right off now than 4 years ago? Right there, I see how the economy was 4 years ago. Gas prices was under $2. People can afford to buy a house. It's easy to borrow money because the interest rate was under 2%. You can borrow money very quick and buy a house. And people that were selling houses, they can get 5 to 10 offers, and they can get the highest offer and sell their house. The economy doing well, real estate, economy, gas prices down. And when Biden took office, gas prices went up, transportation went up. And what happened is basic food went up, like milk, eggs, everything went up and affecting people. We can be Hispanics, Afro-Americans, everybody, but when the economy is not doing well, affect everybody. And we can compare two different administrations. It was easy to decide for me who was better for us.
And by the way, we are going to talk about the border in a second, but since we're talking about money, I want to kind of talk to you a little bit about that, the kitchen table economics that the Harris camp may have missed in many ways. And even if you're not part of the lower income population, so many people in all the groups were saying, what about us? Do you think the Harris camp didn't concentrate enough on those who are really struggling to make ends meet?
Of course, and it's difficult to believe her promises because she was in power for 4 years. She keeps saying, when I get elected, I'm gonna do this. But she's already elected, she's a vice president.
But the vice president doesn't have the same powers as a president.
But serve in the Senate and have influence with her colleagues in the Senate to be able to put a good piece of legislation right there to influence. Usually the vice president is not serving, but it's a next for the president to be in the Congress recommending some ideas in the Senate, because believe it or not, when we have a Senate, sometimes a 50-50, the vice president can break the vote or recommend some ideas. And she was a former senator, which she understands 100% how the Senate works.
Let's talk about the humanity involving the border crisis. Of course, you have so many people. Look, we had Rebecca Kiesling on this show but a few days ago. Her 2 sons died of fentanyl poisoning because of Percocet that had been poisoned by it, and that came from the border. She is acutely aware of how bad it is to sit back and to watch your children leave your world because of something so terrible. The border crisis, what's the right way to go about beginning to fix that problem, would you say? In your mind, as you look at different people with different policies, obviously Trump had his ideas in 2016 to build a wall. You believe that all of that needs to be done, yes?
I wouldn't necessarily say a physical wall. I think we need to just put more strength and people down there to control the border. Too many people are getting over, like you said, children are dying, and it just needs to be more controlled. Does it necessarily need to be a physical wall? Maybe not. But we need to have more control at the border, definitely.
And when you take a look at Kamala Harris, even if she wasn't exactly the czar, as some people argue that point, we missed the point in arguing that point. The point is she was somewhat responsible, right, for looking for the root causes of why this was all happening. What did you wish for from the Harris camp, more so than what you got?
I honestly can't tell you exactly what I wished for, because I feel like the entire Harris campaign, like Jose said, they kept making promises. They weren't really necessarily telling us what they were going to do. Like, you know, when I'm president, I will fix the prices of food, but, you know, it's not a snap of a finger and it doesn't automatically get turned back. I didn't feel like they offered a lot of solutions to any of their claims throughout the campaign.
Jose, when you look at Tom Homan, who is going to be really the border czar here, and you study a little bit about what he's said, what he's talked about, is there anything that he has said that concerns you about how he's going to execute some of the things?
No, if you see, as Hispanic, everybody, we're going to protect our borders because it's true that we have so many criminals, and Trump has to pick someone with stuff who is going to deliver results. People vote for Donald Trump not for a nice speech. American people want results, and I think he has to bring somebody tough. Trump was already president, so he has experience of managing people. He's picking smart people and people who deliver results and is loyal to him. That's why he's picking these people, and I think he's going to deliver the problem. Now, I want to make a quick comment about, you have to understand also that the borders, the problem, the crisis with the borders is we have many dictators in South America, like Nicolás Maduro in Venezuela. He opened all the jails, many jails, not just one jail. We talk several counties, several states, and all these criminals told him, hey, go to America. A lot of mental institutions were open in those areas, and they told him, Maduro told him, go to America. I believe also some of these people really come here because they want to reach to the American dream. There's no other American dream. The only American dream is in America. It's not China dream. It's the American dream. That's why everybody wants to come.
So should the responsibility also be in the hands of these other governments out there that are allowing people out of these prisons, as you say, and allowing them to come over the border? Or is it just sealing up the border, or is it both?
I think also both, but the government, Biden didn't demonstrate that he was a good negotiator to negotiate with the other presidents. He just didn't care because he made a statement when he got elected, hey, everybody's welcome. You cannot say that. Somalia is the only country that doesn't protect their borders. They just allow everybody to come, but Somalia is not run for a government. And United States is the number one in the world, and we cannot just open the borders to everybody. We need to have a control and check who is coming here.
And so how do you do it? That's the big question that so many people are talking about right now. And when we come back on the other side of the break, we're continuing our conversation with our esteemed panel about the right way to do this when it comes to separating families, not separating families. What do you do in that situation? What Tom Homan says, what our guests think, when we come back here on The Pulse. And welcome back to The Pulse. You know the mission. We're talking people, power, and politics. We're continuing our conversation with Corinne Martinez and Jose Aliaga, two Latino voters who supported President-elect Donald Trump. And an interesting conversation, and one that we're so grateful that both of you joined here today, because it's an important one. Yes, look, we can't just keep looking at the past, but we got to look at the future. And so let's talk about the future. When it comes to how Mr. Tom Homan, the new border czar, will be executing his duties as border czar, what are the things that you want to see right away? We'll begin with you, Jose. What does this man have to do to secure the problem that has been let go for so many years? Well, I will continue with the wall, personally, and then starting working also with the State Department to make sure that our embassies have a good registration for consulates, to make sure that people that want to come in the right way go and apply for the visa. We screen how we done it in the right way. They come, apply for the visa, and they can come work visa, tourist visa, student visa, and help them, but have our services more efficient to that people, make more awareness, so people don't have to come to the borders, number one. Number two, get the wall, make sure they prevent more criminals coming in, but this is what we don't want. Utilize technology, work with the suggestion for the experts in the border, because they have been suggesting many things they have been putting it aside for political reasons. And I think with those measures, we can secure our borders, because right now we cannot let it just open borders. That doesn't make sense to me. So Mr. Trump had said when he was president that we're going to build a wall. They ended up building something like 2% of it because it takes time. But then he said he would have Mexico pay for it. That didn't happen. Do you think it's going to happen this time around? Well, he showed us many times that he has a special
skills to negotiate with presidents. And then he doesn't take the plan yet because he always says, we need to be smart. I'm not going to tell my opponent the plan. But I'm pretty sure if he says he's going to do something, he's done it before, I think he's going to do it again.
Let's talk about Mr. Homan. He's been asked a few times, Corinne, about whether or not they're going to separate families. How do you take, a father out of this equation who's living here and undocumented and deport that person? What about the children now? They're getting their father ripped away. The humane way to do it, Mr. Homan said, well, we'll deport the whole family. But the issue there is that some of these children are born in America, so we're deporting Americans. What's the right way to do it in your mind? I know that you're not a border expert, but just as a taxpaying citizen who cares deeply about this problem, how do you do that?
I think there's not really a clear-cut answer to this because, of course, I mean, there's so many studies out there. Children are supposed to be with their families, and although we might have, a great foster system, at the end of the day, they belong with their parents if they're able to. However, I mean, their parents are people that raised them, even if they were born in America. I think maybe, deporting the entire family and having them come back legally would be the best way to go about this.
Jose,
even if they're going back to their home country, at least they're with their parents.
You also then would believe that there's a humane way to do this, separating children from their families. Is that the right way to go?
No, obviously no. I concur with Mr. Martinez, that even the SAR even state that we don't need to separate. We can, in the safer manner, to return their home and tell them they need to apply in the right way. And which is very nice, because if you go to borders like Mexico, other borders, they don't treat you nice. They will arrest you, they throw you in awful conditions of jail. And you don't have those privileges in America. We respect all the rights for individuals, but we want to secure our borders. It's not about good people that want to come here. We need to secure our borders because we have real criminals, cartels, they take control in some other areas in the borders. That cannot happen. That's what this issue is about. We have illegal weapons coming here, and then we saw information that we have in the past terrorists that try to come here to do damage to many of us.
And it's not as though you're saying there's a proportion, even if there's a small number, that's a problem. But the majority of people coming in are innocent people who are coming here for the right reasons. In other words, maybe perhaps not the right way, but the right reason. Let me ask you this, though. When it comes to the workforce in America right now, so many undocumented workers currently fill jobs that other Americans don't want to do. What happens to the economy when you decide to take that large of a population and deport them?
Well, I think Trump is going to take very seriously and put together with good advisors a comprehensive immigration reform. It has been done by Ronald Reagan in the 80s, where Ronald Reagan put a comprehensive package approved by bipartisan by the Congress, and that was allowed them to have good people to stay here and work, as long as they show they are good people. And I think that my personal idea will be something like that. There's something already done before, anyways.
Corinne, we only have 10 seconds left. You're hopeful for this being done the right way, then?
Yes, I am.
Well, Corinne, I thank you for your time here today on the show. It's very nice to see you. Thank you, Jose. Sure. Good to see you as well. That is the pulse for tonight. It's a conversation that will continue, of course. And if you have any burning political questions you want us to answer on the show, maybe there's a fact check that you'd like us to do, just scan that QR code on your screen, and that goes right to my email box, right to my phone. Send me an email. Battleground with SC Cup is next. I'm Ru Paraj. Have a good night.